OSP, matters arising. How has your 2025 been so far in the news? But Kobe Amwa is law lecturer and aide to Kennedy Agyapong. He's been here a few times, and we shall be having that conversation on how the preparation to the January 31 election flag bearer race is panning out. How does it look? Is it still clearer? Is it cloudy, gloomy, or not? As well, Mohammed Abdulaziz is Deputy Director General, Ghana India Kofi Annan Center for Excellence in IT, as well, joining us. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me. How are you? How's your 2025 been? How's your bronya, really? Let me ask you, because Kobe, how's your bronya?
I think so far so good. Because we're also in peak political season, we've not had much time to enjoy the festivities like let me use personally. I've not had much time to enjoy the festivities like in previous times.
Okay.
And I mean, this weekend, we could have enjoyed more of it. Because of this show too, last night, the December didn't dirty.
And plus the church leadership is not so excited about the fact that we're saying December and Christmas is dirty. And so it's making...
Dirty or dirty?
I know, right? There's been a debate. Many say that it's not dirty, but it's just a dirty one. And so you celebrate Christmas after January 31.
Definitely.
But should you know, it's like blasters, right? When they're going for a match, you want to eat before the match. Would you not? Would you not have some merry?
I mean, Christmas comes every year.
So yeah, okay, so whatever happens.
But definitely, I think we are going to be victorious. I mean, from the trends I'm seeing and from the work we are doing. So definitely there's going to be Christmas. Christmas in February.
Well, okay, I look forward to that. I won't have popcorn in my hands, but I definitely will look forward to that. I mean, by the name, I'm just going to be prejudiced that it's not Christmas for you, it'll be Salah for you, or?
You are right. Good morning to you, good morning to Kobe, and good morning to our viewers. Yes, you are right, but we all enjoy the holidays. It's time to relieve some stress, stay at home, do what I want to do, spend some time with the family. Even though we don't go to the church and stuff like that, but we somehow a parasite in the celebration of Christmas.
That's good, because I was going to ask, did your Christian friends invite you? Did they send you some?
Yes, I've had some few friends share hampers with me, and I've visited some few friends to see how they are faring with their families.
Have you seen how we have done it? We don't want that Salah will come and you say, oh, this one is a small Salah. Let's wait for the big one. Oh.
That is our Christian friends, when it comes to Salah, would normally ask for the meat. But you see, we Muslims we are required to kill the animals during the big festival. Yes, during the small.
Which never comes. Every time they tell you this is a smaller one.
People are in pain.
It does. And we are required by the dictates of Islam to share with your neighbors, you know. I mean, if you kill a bull, your household cannot eat the whole thing, and so you have to share with your colleagues and your neighbors, and that's what we do. So let's see, 2026, when we are doing the Salah, I'm sure I'm going to come here with a heavy pan of meat.
Definitely. Kobe, let's get into the issues. 2025, a wrap of it. Of course, today we have tabled the performance of the OSP. And it's not surprising, because getting to the end of the year, a lot of conversations have come up. In fact, there was an attempted suggesting that the office be removed in Parliament. But of course, that was a botched idea. The performance of it, many have said, including Sami Darko, the Special Prosecutor's Office, says that really they have been quite preventive. They have been quite preventive. So why would they even think that the office is not performing as such? That is one of the things. Galamsey is still on. We've just seen that there've been some arrests and all of that. But in a wrap, generally, how's the year been, and which one has your most attention?
Thank you very much. I think that the year, by the grace of God, has been good. I mean, there's been a few tragedies and issues that always has to keep the country on its toes and thinking about how to protect lives and how to go about things in future. Galamsey is still a big issue. It just has been very politicized. Definitely didn't start from this government. Definitely the kind of political rhetoric that was given during the election process made things murkier. But it's obvious it was not as simple as it was portrayed to be, and it was something that its resolution was just going to be a matter of something at a click of the button and we are gone. Yeah. So it's something that I'm hoping that in the coming year we can all come together as a nation to fight. To the OSP, I think that this year the institution has been under a lot of scrutiny. One for Ken Foyata and the issues, and also even about the efficacy of the institution in the first place. When the institution was being set up, the understanding was that our already existing institutions were not being effective enough in prosecuting corruption and corruption-related offenses. So the mindset, understanding of Ghanaians, yes, is as part of their mandate, they also have to take steps to prevent corruption. But it was not just about prevention of corruption. Because, like for instance, I read Samuel Akun's post on that of busts. And if you analyze it, yes, OSP took certain steps to tell the parties involved, especially the bust. No, not bust. Tor, sorry. Yeah. Tor to halt the process of acquiring the partnership because there was a suspected fraud. But if you look at around that same time, a lot of CSOs were involved. The Attorney General himself was involved and all. So it's not even something which you can attribute to, or the success can only be attributed to the OSP. People really want to see prosecution of corruption offenses and the sentencing, conviction and sentencing of same, which I believe Ghanaians have not really been happy with. I mean, a lot of people, some have proposed that, or some have suggested that it may be too early. The institution may not be perfect. There's a lot that may not be going on well, but it needs time to grow. It needs time to be well assimilated. Mm-hmm. So I'm just hoping that it works this time around. I've seen the constitutional review suggestion, which probably looks like it may even be doing away with the OSP, but looking at setting up a proper independence through the office of the Attorney General, which may be independent, not like how we have our system with Attorney General being the same person also in charge of prosecutions. So it's something that we are looking forward to. I know there are petitions to remove the special prosecutor and all. So yes, that institution there's been a lot of controversy around the office. I think that I agree. I don't think that it should be, the fact that things may not be going well now means that we should throw the water away with the baby. I think that we should all, just like there's a lot of scrutiny now, all come up with suggestions, or give them that needed scrutiny that will help the institution grow. If this constitutional review process also goes through, maybe it may streamline things.
Well, before I come to you, Mohammed, I'm just thinking, is it that as a country we have appetite for justice and not necessarily looking for recoveries in terms of the OSP and its mandate? Because it's trying to tell us that they have been more preventive. If you're not seeing the convictions, at least we have seen that they have prevented payroll fraud, they have some recoveries and all, but it looks as though we want to see people behind bars more than to recover. I want you to mull on that once I also go. Because
the OSP is an institution with three mandates. Yeah. So it's not as if the OSP has just one mandate. It has three different mandates. And if I may read from Section 2 of the Act, the first one is about investigation and prosecution of offenses related to corruption and corruption-related offenses. How have they performed according to that mandate? Then you look at the second one, which is about the recovery of corruption proceeds. And the third one, which is about the prevention of corruption. In as much as we are looking at prevention of corruption, the fact that you wrote a letter and a deal stopped is not really it's one of the things, but it's not really what we are looking at, because we have members of parliament, CSOs and others who, once they have whims of some of these things, they bring it out in public and it stops. We are looking at someone who can prosecute what has already happened, and that is what will actually serve as a deterrent for people to shy away from involving themselves in corruption offenses.
Okay.
Once you say it's just preventive, you see something it's good, but that alone may not be the right deterrent. And as I said, they have a three-part mandate. So you don't say that you are selling in one expense of the others. Let's see how on all three mandates you are, and that is how you can be properly judged.
Okay. Mohammed, how's the year been for you so far, baby, before you get into the OSP? Which one of the news, maybe I didn't bring it on the table, but has your attention?
Maybe I would say the economy and more especially the issue of the gold board and what the gold board has been able to do for this country. The fact that President Mahama and the NDC thought of a vehicle like the gold board that is modeled alongside the way we've run a cocoa board for a very long time. We have seen the impact of the gold board, in helping to build our reserves. This morning, when I was listening to your radio station, the indication is that by the end of this year, our international reserves would have reached somewhere $13 billion US. That is unprecedented in the history of this country. This government came to meet some reserves of about $8 billion US. Just within a year, we are estimated to add about $5 billion to our international reserve. Courtesy the gold board. Today we see inflation trending down for the past 10, 11 months. Inflation is around 6.3. Hopefully we may even get some trending to 5% or even less, and that would be unprecedented in the history of this country. We have seen the dollar also stabilize largely because of the forex that the gold board has been able to help this country to rake in. That also has reflected in the prices of fuel products. Prices of food items are going down. What we are seeing today in this country is unprecedented. In my entire adult life, I haven't seen prices of goods generally drop down like the way they are doing today. And whilst we credit all the government institutions, I think that gold board has played a very important role in the whole issue.
Are you minded by the losses that the IMF has flagged?
Oh, you can ignore that. I have read even the news portals, including your own. I haven't seen a place where IMF stated categorically gold board has recorded a loss of $214 million US.
It seemed to be at the back end. It means that it is on the books of the BOG.
You see, that is not true. The gold board, you see, we should not attempt to shift the goalposts. What we've been told is that gold board recorded a loss of $214 million US. When you push the argument, then they tell you it is on the books of the Bank of Ghana. Let us be sure whether it is the gold board or the Bank of Ghana that is recording a loss of $214 million US. In any case, why? Somewhere in 2023, 2022, Bank of Ghana recorded a loss of about over 60 billion Ghana cedis. The following year, 2023, they recorded a loss of about 10 billion Ghana cedis and around 9 billion Ghana cedis in 2024. Nobody was called out. And so even if it is true that Bank of Ghana recorded a loss of about $214 million US, that would translate to about 1 billion Ghana cedis. That would have been a much improvement over what we recorded in 2022, 2023, and 2024. That is not to justify any loss by Bank of Ghana. But granted that was even true. If gold board is able to rake in about $10 billion US for this country, it has been able to stabilize our economy. A $214 million loss is justified. Just compare $10 billion US to $214 million US. And you would agree with me that even if that was true, I'm not saying it is true, but granted that was true, the gold board has made tremendous mark in improving our national economy. Sometimes the CEO for the gold board, Semi Jemfi, our colleagues from the NPP at all costs want to come after him just to paint the person bad and also to attack the institution.
How so?
Yes,
because we can stick to the IMF report. The IMF
I'm telling you, if anybody can tell me where in the IMF report, paragraph this, page this, the IMF states that gold board has recorded a loss of $214 million US. I'll be more than happy to read it. I have gone through, I haven't seen it. I am also saying that the gold board has posted their financial statements for second and third quarter because the gold board came into being around somewhere March. And so their financial statements have been published. Nowhere have we seen any loss recorded. The chief executive officer has promised to publish the end of year accounts, a financial statement, and that would also be audited. And when that is done, we will be more certain if they recorded any loss in the last quarter or not. But their financial statement for second and third quarter does not prove any loss for the gold board. But you see, we seem to know the cost of everything and the value of nothing. I've just told you what Gold Board has been able to do, bringing into this country about $10 billion US dollars that would have otherwise lost to a good smugglers. It's something that we must be proud of.
Many said that whilst you're proud of it, why aren't you minded about the overly exposure of the gold economy or gold market to the outside world? Because Ghana is overly exposed. Many have said.
How we're exposed, you see?
I mean, if it makes it easy.
Well, I'm not too clear with the question, but I mean, if we have modeled the Gold Board alongside the way Cocoa Board has been run, where smuggling cocoa out of this country has become a criminal offense punishable by law, and it is making gains. What I think that we should be cautious about has to do with what we should be doing to look at the long term, because if the gold prices at the international world market should tumble today, we may not be able to rake in as much as we are doing today. And so what are we? And I'm happy that the Gold Board has now started the processing of the gold in this country,
in Ghana.
And they are encouraging people to store their value in gold instead of going to buy the dollar.
Because when you sell it in the Doré state, the value is lesser. Is that it?
Of course, of course. And so that's why they are
which is what they are doing now,
exactly,
currently. And there's not why the IMF says that it is accounting for losses, because what it means that you're buying it at the exact or the premium price from the small-scale miner.
We must be sure if they are talking about prices or fees. But I have told you, I haven't seen anywhere in the IMF report where they were very specific and categorical that Gold Board recorded a loss of $214 million US dollars as a result of action A, B, C, D. But I'm also saying that granted that is true, are we not proud that this institution that President Mahama and the NDC has brought on board has been able to rake in for this country $10 billion US dollars? And look at the impact, the rippling effect in terms of inflation, price of goods and services, prices of fuel products. And so for me, that is the major thing for the year 2025. But like I said, we should be interested in finding a way out in the event that cocoa prices and gold prices tumble at the world market. Today, gold is doing above 4,000 US dollars an ounce. We must be thinking of what to do to cushion our economy should the prices of gold and cocoa take a downward trend, even though analysts say that it will take a very long time for the prices to slide back. And so we're in good times. President Mahama and the NDC, I mean, like I said, what we are experiencing today has never happened in the history of Ghana. And that's a fact. That food security report indicates that generally prices of food products have gone down by 32%. A liter of fuel that used to sell for 17 Ghana cedis at the end of 2024, today goes for around 11 Ghana cedis. In fact, at the end of somewhere in November 2022, a liter of fuel was going for almost 25 Ghana cedis. We have been able to reverse all these things. We are putting money back in the pockets of the ordinary Ghanaian. People are spending less on food today than they did in 2024. When you go to the filling station, you spend less to fill your tank than you did in 2024. So all that we are saying is that is the way you put money in people's pocket. And for me, that is a major issue for me in the year 2025. I hope and pray that we can be able to consolidate all these gains. And 2026 is more promising because we are aware that government is, through the big push, going to spend about 30 billion Ghana cedis in infrastructure. Just in the road sector alone, 30 billion Ghana cedis under a big push. That is not to say that the regular annual budget for the Ministry of Roads and Highways is scrapped. Their annual budget is still intact, and we are doing additional 30 billion. You can imagine what the infrastructure of this country would look like at the end of 2027, 2028.
You understand the economy better. I like to think that you understand the math even better than me. This big push, by the way, we'll get back to the OSP because that's what Kobe started with. Does it not have the potential?
You ask of what my... Of course.
But I'm curious, and you have my attention on the things that has your attention as well. But this 30 billion big push, does it not have the potential to increase our inflation? No.
This is not like Bank of Ghana going to print money. This money that we're coming to spend is generated by the economy itself.
Okay, so we have estimated.
It becomes a problem when you print money from the Bank of Ghana. The basic economics that we did in secondary school says that when the demand is high, prices will go up. When you have more cedis in the system chasing dollars, obviously the price of dollar would go up. And that's why I'm saying that the gold board even saying that now you can store your value in gold and not in dollars. So it's an integrated approach. When you go and print money from the Bank of Ghana, money that is not generated within the economy, it becomes artificial money. And when that chases your dollar, obviously the price of your dollar would go up. And so what we are saying is that 30 billion under the big push would open up this country. It would propel this country for growth. And 2026 and beyond would be good time in Ghana here. That's why
I know that exchange rate has a way of impacting inflation.
Of course, when exchange rate goes high, when the dollar goes high, importers would need more cedis to import, to go and convert into dollars to import. And once they do that, their prices would go up because the person would have to, for instance, if the dollar is 17 Ghana cedis, and the person goes to import an item worth 1 Ghana cedis, that would be 17 Ghana cedis plus the person's margin. So you are moving around 20 Ghana cedis. But if the dollar is around 10 Ghana cedis or 11 Ghana cedis, as it is today, you may be buying that item around 12, 13 Ghana cedis. And so they are actually integrated.
Kobe, do you have any
Remember Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia?
What did he say?
The political messiah or the economic messiah of the NPP. He was very loud and clear that anytime you are in doubt about how the economy is faring, you look at the exchange rate. Today, the exchange rate is doing well. And people are still in doubt. In fact, the 38% of Ghanaians are still in doubt. But majority of Ghanaians are very certain. I mean, I'm sure you've seen videos from our markets where market women selling tomatoes, selling pepper, were making confessions that prices have dropped. A bag of maize that used to sell for 700 Ghana cedis today goes for around 300 Ghana cedis. What else do we want as a country? That food prices are going down. Generally, prices are coming down. That is a fact. And for those who are still in doubt, the 38%, they should refer back to the statement of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, who says that when you are in doubt, look at the exchange rate. The exchange rate has moved from 17 Ghana cedis.
Kobe, would you be looking at the exchange rate?
Which 38% are you referring to?
Oh, 38%. Those people who still didn't repent, even though the signs were very clear, and still voted for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia.
Dr. Bawumia
they would never say.
I think that is easy.
There's this about 38, 41, 38, 41.
I think it was 41.
But can you even imagine our colleagues are now struggling? They are now struggling.
But how did you arrive at the 38? They are the party members and they know them. How did you arrive at the 38?
They don't run the election.
But there's electoral commission
the EC. So you see,
exactly. That's why you're 38.
So Kobe, it is interesting that today the NPP is struggling to claim 41%. Oh,
are they?
They are. I said
Kobe is calm.
You see, I said 38. That's what I saw. He says 41%.
Hey, electoral commission.
Look at both the NPP and the NDC in our recent history. Both the NPP and the NDC, none of them, and any leader has scored below 44%. Worse, 41%. That one we are even struggling to claim.
Perhaps that the 44 was President Mahama anyway. So
but you say President Mahama was what, 44?
Prior to this election, he had
Have you monitored social media?
What about
in
social
the
media?
last few days?
Okay. So much happens on social media.
And for me, Kobe, why are you guys doing this yourselves?
So back to
see, Dennis.
The flag bearership race and the party conversation is still on the table anyway, but I just want Kobe to respond to a few of the things because you mentioned gold board.
So he mentioned gold board and inflation. To be honest, I think that the idea behind the setup of gold board is a good one. Looking at how well cocoa board has served us, even with its certain problems. However, I think that gold board has so much potential. And in the quest, especially of the NDC government, to overly praise gold board, we may lose sight of a lot of things that gold board can do. You know, we are at a point in time where the price of gold is at an unprecedented high. So once you monopolize your gold market, you'll be able to rake in a lot. But one thing that we have not really paid attention to, I know it has been mentioned a few times, is about the role of gold board also in our environment. It's very obvious that gold board they've not really is the act of gold tracing and the fact that everyone who will be honest will tell you that there's a lot of galamsey gold which ends up in gold board. This is something that we should really tackle, else in the quest to strengthen our economy, to have good economic independence, we may be doing that to the detriment of our environment. And galamsey for the past few years has probably been the biggest, apart from the unemployment, has probably been the biggest problem that the country is encountering.
Many say that galamsey didn't start today. In fact, not many say, we know that galamsey didn't start
Which
today.
is true.
However, many have said that, but if we're going to be making some money from that same gold which belongs to us, is that not good?
So I'm saying now we have a government institution which is doing the regulation. And at this point in time, especially when gold is at its peak on the world markets, this is also the time that there will be a lot of motivation for galamseyers to do gold. So especially where government is now at the forefront of our gold business, we should be able to take measures to ensure that the gold that we are also buying and selling in the quest of meeting certain targets is not galamsey gold.
So, Kobe, I've heard this argument, but break it down for me, and I'm certain that people watching as well want this break. Is it that when Gold Board says that they buy gold from small-scale miners, we have illegal miners closed as small-scale miners, because small-scale miners are licensed.
Gold Board doesn't buy gold directly
yes,
from the miners.
Yes.
Gold Board has they are series, so they are tier 1, tier 2
licensed buyers, yes.
And these licensed buyers are supposed to buy gold from licensed miners. However, the process of tracing to know that this gold was indeed from a licensed miner is not there.
Okay.
Or even if it's there, it's not effective.
Okay.
So if I'm a small-scale miner and I'm even illegal, I get to sell my gold to these licensed buyers and they intend to sell it to Gold Board. And I'm saying that this is a point in time where the motivation for illegal mining is at the highest because the prices of gold are at its peak.
Should Gold Board purchase it directly?
Not necessarily purchase it directly, but we should be able to be very
at least it brings the proximity of tracing a lot closer than if you're buying it from a third party. Or?
Yeah, so, the issue of the tracing. I'm aware that Gold Board is putting in place a tracking system that would take effect from next year. You know, in fact, as we speak today, there's no evidence. It's only speculative that illegal gold or activities of illegal.
What's the possibility? Is it possible? Of course, it's possible.
Oh, it is
highly possible.
It is. But I'm saying that as we speak today, there's no any evidence to the effect that the licensed buyers for a Gold Board do buy gold from illegal miners. That has not been established, and so
where does illegal mine gold?
Oh, I am not discounting what you have said, but I'm saying that if we were to put you to some strict proof that this ounce of gold that Gold Board has exported came from an illegal miner, you may not be able to prove that.
But that's the thing. If we do this, we'll be running away from what we know as facts, right?
But the tendency for that to happen is there. And that's why the Gold Board says that from next year, they are going to have a tracking system. There's a technology that can actually tell you where the gold is coming from. And so from next year, we are going to have a tracking system that would be able to track gold from these illegal activities. Because apart from just generating the forex, we're also interested in preserving our environment. Mind you, the Gold Board, their responsibility does not extend to fighting illegal mining. They only support it. And so other agencies must also complement the activities of the Gold Board to ensure that we deal decisively with the activities of illegal miners. You know when and how we got to where we are today.
Kobe, is that so? The Gold Board Act
complicit in illegal mining. People who were supposed to fight the illegal mining were those fronting for it. In fact, we have seen Abronya says that even some mining sites, some illegal mining sites, were labeled president mining site. At that time, President Akufo-Addo was a president, and that was never closed down. And so there's that political will on the part of President Mahama and the NDC to deal with the activities of illegal mining. The Gold Board would have a tracking system from next year to be able to track gold that comes from these illegal activities. And so even if you have that gold, you cannot export it and you cannot sell it to the Gold Board through their licensed buyers. You are better off not doing it.
Probably
with the risk that goes.
That's it. Well,
in any case, I agree with you when you ask the question that, okay, granted that some gold from the illegal activities is able to slip into a gold board. The first scenario, our environment was still destroyed, and some criminals enjoy the booty from that environmental destruction. Today, even if the environment is destroyed, I'm not saying that it's so, the state stands to benefit in terms of a forex. But from next year, you can be rest assured that all the things that I agree with most of the things that you have said. I'm not.
Probably has to land though. It's not landed. Yes.
Yes. So as I said, I mean, yes, government has said a couple of times that they are taking steps, but it's been a year. And the level at which our environment is being degraded, I don't think that it is something that we can attribute only to the NPP, NDC government. This is something that has been there like in previous governments. However, this is the government in power.
I agree with
so the government has to make sure such steps are taken. Also on the performance of the economy, I think that the IMF program is also helping. I'm not saying that there's no credit to be taken by the ministries. I think that the IMF program is helping because when you have an IMF program, they help you with getting a lot of market access. So you're able to go into the market to borrow or to be able to do business. There's much more fiscal discipline because by virtue of the technical support and also by virtue of the benchmarks, you have to be disciplined in order to meet these targets and for the next tranches to be released. So we are really going to know the true performance of this team after August.
After the program
ends. Yeah. And that's the tricky part. I mean, we've been to IMF 18 times. Almost all the time during the IMF program and the immediate aftermath, things seem to be good. But when the governance is left for the people in charge, that's when we see their true performance to know whether or not they are managing the economy well. I mean, every Ghanaian now should be happy that the dollar looks quite stable, but we are hoping that we're able to put in place certain measures and especially know how government will ensure that this is something that continues. Because every time there are IMF programs, it looks, and the funny thing is that what usually happens is that IMF, anytime there's an IMF program, there's a lot of regime change because the economy gets so bad that by virtue of that, people vote out the government.
Yeah.
And the new government comes and they inherit they inherit the positives of the program. So at every point in time, the government starts everything, and this is across the world. Everything is going well, and the currency is stabilized and everything. But mind you, you're on support. You're on life support. So when the support is taken, that is a period that we get to know the true strength of the managers of the economy and how it's going. So I mean, I think that so far it's going well, but let's see what happens after August. I mean, I think it was supposed to end in April, but there's a 3-month extension.
Well, you cannot attribute the successes that we are recording today to just the IMF. I will not.
Not just the IMF. I think IMF.
I don't think I heard you say just the IMF. But if you are to rate the performance, if you are to rate how much the IMF program has contributed to the growth of the economy, how will you rate it on a scale of? Is it okay to say 0 to 10?
Maybe I'll say around 20%. Why? The IMF program, the ECF program with the IMF, Ghana is getting about 3 billion over a period of 3 years. So that gives about $1 billion per year, right? $1 billion per year, right? All that we are witnessing today is because we have been able to generate more forex into the economy. That's the truth of the matter.
Have you generated it? Because
we have
many people have advanced the theory that it is artificial.
No, it's not artificial. It is artificial when Ken Ofori-Atta was borrowing on the average $3 billion every year to stabilize the city. That was artificial because those monies were borrowed. That money was not generated within the economy. And we're supposed to pay that money with interest. In this case, it is our own gold, our own natural resources. The only different thing that we have done today is to streamline the activities of gold sales in this country. Right? If Gold Board has been able to rake in about $10 billion just in 1 year, and the IMF is giving us about $3 billion over a 3-year period, that gives about $1 billion a year. So 1 billion as against 10 billion. That gives about.
I beg to differ briefly.
Okay.
Please. So I'm saying that the IMF, yes, we cannot discount the look.
You have put a value to it.
Yes.
I have a counter question. But Kobe, please proceed before I bring the counter question.
You see, for IMF programs, also I said this surrenders, and a lot of times a mistake that we all make is the fact that we quantify the value of IMF programs by the loan that we are given. But the value of the IMF program is not by the loan, it's by the economic health and the market access it gives you. You see, before you go for IMF programs, the country should, yes, we say countries don't go bankrupt, but in comparative terms, the country should be bankrupt. And it's at a point in time that no one wants to deal with you. So the fact that there is an existence of an IMF program, the fact that IMF comes with certain conditionalities that puts your country back to economic restoration, gives people the confidence to deal with your country. And that is actually the gold in the IMF program, and not necessarily the loans. The loans are looking at the value of what an IMF program does for an economy. The loans are just a minute part of it, because you say the loan is 3 billion, but now you have the market access to deal with other countries. You are not seen as you're not seen as a country where no one can deal with you because you don't have that credibility. It gives you that economic and policy credibility to be dealt with. So I just want us to.
I think I agree with you.
I think I agree with you. To this, and I'm saying that it's not just like NDC. A lot of commentators, they say, oh, even this 3 billion, if you had set up 1-2 businesses, or this, we could have rigged in 3 billion. I even heard someone say that if government had done better and put in some odds, we could have rigged it. You could have easily rigged in the 3 billion. So,
but Mohammed, you hear the argument.
I agree with Kobe that the policy credibility is so important. But because you asked the question of quantitative metric, if I was to look at
let's put it in the middle line, quantitative and qualitative. What's the value would you give it? So for the monetary, you're giving it 20%.
Or even less. But you see, when the Minister for Finance was being vetted by a parliament for his current office, he made 3 things very categorical. That he wanted to cut expenditure. That was not an IMF speaking during the vetting process. And that he wanted to stabilize the local
currency. It's expected if you're on an IMF program.
Austerity is number one.
I'm saying, even under the IMF in 2024, we were still not able to cut expenditure. Sometimes it's the person in charge. Why? When you talk about policy slippages in 2024, the IMF said that you could not meet your indicative target. It's there in 2024, even though you were under an IMF program. Sometimes it's the person in charge.
How do you agree? Because I agree. I agree.
2024, for instance, you were supposed to achieve an inflation of around 18% at the end of the year. You ended up doing around 23%. Yeah. You were supposed to do a primary surplus of 0.5. You ended up doing a deficit of 4. And so sometimes, even though you were under an IMF program, you were still unable to carry along the terms of that program. Within just a year or less than a year, Atu Forcing at the end of the second quarter did a primary balance of positive 1.1 as against negative 4.
I think in the latter part of the NPP's regime, there was an attempt to want to cut down costs.
So I said they did a primary balance of negative 4. Atu Forcing has reversed it at the end of the first quarter to 1.1 positive.
I'm not disputing
inflation
this.
has come down from 23 to about 6.3%. And so sometimes, yes, it's the policy credibility, but the person who manages the economy is also very, very important.
You hear him, Kobe, because then what prevented the regime to cut down the cost?
And also remember, we have not recorded a single corruption scandal. Last year, in 2017, in their first year under President Akufo-Addo, we had recorded a Movempina. People have actually forgotten. We had recorded cash for seats.
But let's come back.
None of these things has happened under President Mahama. Sometimes it is the person in charge, the demeanor, the character of the person. Don't let us discount the governance that President Mahama and NDC are leading.
I haven't seen that yet.
So let me come back. Because if you go into corruption and related issues, I think that we are going.
When we get to the OSP,
like for instance,
but you are yet to talk about.
For instance, even when you talk about cash for seats, the parliamentary investigation is very clear. The fact that there has been an allegation, and I think that's something. The fact that there's been an allegation does not necessarily mean that those allegations were true. Especially an instance where we've gone through the process and I think it was we had two NDC people, and I think in the end we all agree that cash for seeds was much ado about nothing.
Oh, it's not true.
But coming back to IMF programs, there are two things. IMF programs, especially their first years, start very slow because before you go to IMF, countries are very, as Kenneth Oyata said, we are proud nations. IMF is actually a regime changer. So for a country to accept...
Why that smirk on your face? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to laugh.
For a country to accept that this is time for them to call in the IMF, it means things have gotten so bad that
especially
they have now...
Especially that e-levy had been imposed on us.
They have now agreed that there's nothing they can do about it. Right. Happened under President Mahama. In fact, I think it's happened under almost every government since 1966.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. So the initial IMF targets generally are very difficult to meet. Two, one thing that IMF struggles with everywhere in the world is election years. In election years, meeting economic targets are very difficult.
But take a trip to 2023. 2023, I'll say 2024, of course, was an election year. Is it
we entered the IMF program in 2023, and as I said earlier, at the very beginning of IMF program,
it was in May.
At the very beginning of IMF programs, it's very difficult. And you see, yes, we said we started in May, but when did we get the creditor agreement? We requested for IMF support, but when after they come with the debt sustainability analysis, you now have to come to an agreement and meet certain targets. Come to an agreement with your creditors, your official creditors. So it's quite a process. So when you kickstart, sometimes it's very difficult to actually meet the targets. And it's across all IMF programs, not specific to ours. It's very difficult to meet your targets the first year. Every country struggles in election year. Election year, the government is trying to please the people. The government doesn't want to lose. In the same vein,
they must manage the economy.
You have to manage it. You have to practice austerity. Same things happened 2016, and same happened now. So IMF programs start slow, but they peak. And I'm not in any way discounting what Ato Forson has done. All I'm saying is that his true strength
is done well.
Will be seen by the end of the year, especially actually by 2027. That's when we are going to know his true strength, whether it's because he's been on life support or he's actually strong on his own.
But what do you think?
I said we are going to see it.
Because Mohammed is advancing a very good theory. He says that it matters who. Because despite we acknowledge that things are difficult, we're looking at who can put the ingredients available together to want to still, cushion the economy.
See, and I'm saying, like, for instance, we're comparing to Kenneth Oyata later, Aminata. And in as much as we may not have met some of the benchmarks, IMF kept renewing our program. And ordinarily, if they don't think that it's within a certain range which is workable, your program is not going to be renewed. So, as I said, there's not like the initial targets for the first years, because they want you to do as much as possible in the first year to get going. And looking at certain circumstances, it's not easy to just recover. It's just like you going to the hospital. The initial part, you being sick and going to the hospital, the initial part is where much of the pain is.
Okay.
When you start getting on the recovery slope, it's strength. But sometimes the injections that you take, the surgery, it may even cause you more pain than you felt earlier.
Okay, post-surgery recoveries there.
Exactly.
Okay, so but let's look at, maybe we should...
You see, there is this...
Because I hope you have time to discuss the NPP primaries.
Of course, we do.
So let me tell you that some of the policy initiatives that are not imposed by IMF, but are working for us as a country. A very good example is what Ato Forson has introduced at the Ministry of Finance, called the commitment authorization. That no government institution can enter into any financial agreement without securing a financial authorization from the Ministry of Finance. What that is meant to do is to prevent state-owned enterprises incurring debt for the state. If you don't have the money, don't enter into the contract.
That's IMF, actually.
It's not IMF.
It's IMF. You see...
No, please. Commitment authorization was only introduced this year.
Yes.
By Ato Forson. It's not part of the IMF conditionalities.
You see,
the man says that, please. I'm sure you may have time to rebut if you want to. You cannot incur or enter into any contract without receiving approval from the Ministry of Finance. Today, Ato Forson is passing a law on value for money, to establish an office for value for money for all government contracts. One of the problems in this country has to do with the inflation of government contracts, where ambulances are bought. Somebody can go and buy an ambulance at, let's say, $10,000 US. The president's daughter can go and buy it at $50,000 US.
But let's be clear.
I don't think ambulance would be the perfect example here.
Why? Why not? Why not? Why not?
Because
ambulance are 2 forcing in the same sentence.
Why? Why? So it's just
that was just by the way. That was just by the way.
You were talking about the system clearing somebody. A court of competent jurisdiction cleared at forcing of all wrongdoings, right?
But the matter was
I'm saying that the daughter of President Akufo-Addo bought ambulances at a price higher than other vendors did.
How about just laugh about it and continue with it?
And so Atuforsen has established what he calls the value for money office.
Is it directly Atuforsen, or it is some sort of indirectly required by the IMF?
It is not part of the IMF.
It has nothing to do with the IMF.
I'm saying that commitment authorization, for instance, one, the establishment of the value for a money office to ensure that government contracts are not inflated is another. These are not part of the IMF conditions. And so, whilst I agree that the IMF may have brought in some policy credibility, they may have brought in some $3 billion over a 3-year period, the managers of the national economy are very clear in their mind what they want to do, and that majority of Ghanaians today are happy with the way and manner the economy is being handled. And so, I have been able to establish this morning that economic environment under President Mahama today is much appreciated by most Ghanaians than it was under the NPP. That is a fact. Okay,
Kobe, please respond. I see that you...
Yes, so I think what I was talking about the fact that government is taking measures to ensure that all other, especially the state-owned agencies, require approval from the ministries before the...
Minister of Finance.
Minister of Finance, actually, yes, before they go into certain agreements. And I'm saying that my response that's from IMF. You see, I've worked closely with IMF before, especially with IMF programs and conditionalities. IMF doesn't have a very good name. When I say IMF doesn't have a very good name, the sense that a lot of times when IMF is mentioned, the public always thinks that IMF comes with a lot of hardships during governments. Like for instance, during President Mahama's time, the IMF conditionalities that prevented the government from doing employing people so people now think of, once you go to IMF, there's going to be hardship. Under NPP, there was domestic debt exchange and all. A lot of the IMF conditions, and they don't make them public. They make them through the government, so it looks like it's more homegrown and government-owned. What actually brought about this was the fact that, initially when IMF was considering the balance sheets of countries, IMF didn't look at state-owned enterprises. Because if you look at the architecture very well, state-owned and some of the state-owned enterprises are registered as independent public companies, as independent companies. So they didn't look at these as part of the balance sheets of countries. And countries at a point now started hiding their inefficiencies and their loans through these institutions, because ordinarily it would just be a company limited by shares, even though it's owned by the government, and those times they didn't reflect on the balance sheet of the countries. So IMF started becoming very stringent on this, and now suggesting that now all these state-owned entities will need approval from governments, because the charter and the defense of government all the time was, yes, we may own them, we may have some shares in there, we may have 50%, 60% in there, but they're independent of us. So IMF has been very categorical about it. But the thing about IMF conditionalities is that because they want the countries to be seen as owning the programs, it's not all the conditionalities that they make very public or make announced, okay, we are making you do this, do this, do that. So that's why I'm saying that a lot of times the government, and it's not just an NDC government, worldwide, the government is seen to be owning the programs, owning the reforms. And it's all part of the health of the economy. You see, when people have one thing that really affects, and what usually happens is that anytime there is people going to an IMF programs, a lot of the times the finance minister has to go off. And that's what, even if you look at that Keneforiata, I realize a lot of NPP people were pushing that Keneforiata needed to go off.
Why?
Because your confidence even in your minister and the handlers of your economy helps with the economic growth. helps if you have a system where people don't even trust the handlers of the economy. The nature of which you may not even decide to spend. If you don't trust your accountants, you may be very skeptical of the things that you do or how to handle things with them. So in the same vein, even the confidence in the manager of the economy is all part of the strategies that the IMF employs to help a country grow. IMF has a report on how conditionalities and how they're enforcing conditionalities 2024.
Okay.
And some of these things are what they detailed. So yes, some of the reforms may be seen to be coming from the ministry, but actually from the back end, they may come from the fund.
It means we have to take your word for it. Because then if the IMF is known for making information public.
No, not everything.
Not everything.
No. If you want to the health of the economy, it's not everything that you can make
public. What Kobe is telling us is that the bone of contention here is that issue of commitment authorization is an initiative of Ato Forson and President Mahama and the NDC. He says no. He says that it is part of the conditions from IMF. Now, Kobe is telling us that those things are not necessarily put in the MOU or the agreement.
In the public, no, you see,
the public domain.
How can we verify what we are saying?
And I'm telling you, so you see, you look at.
We are taking your word against the government.
So okay. I'll share. That's what maybe after that I'll share with you IMF.
What of value for money office?
IMF.
What of value for money office?
And I'm telling you.
Okay, let's talk about the elections. Wait,
well,
2 days to.
I thought you also tabled the issue of the OSP.
Yes, but you were so passionate about the gold board.
The issue of the OSP.
I want to go to the NPP
yes, but
primaries happening.
The issue of the OSP. We are all serious about fighting corruption. I think that.
But you haven't recorded a single corruption.
No, we haven't. We haven't.
Okay.
We haven't. President Mahama has sent a very strong warning to all his appointees.
Okay.
If you ask me, President Akufo-Addo didn't mean well when he set up the office of the special.
He didn't do what?
He didn't mean well.
He didn't mean well.
Yes, it was just a political gimmick. Remember, his first appointee for that office was Martin Amidu, who at that time had fallen out with the NDC, and so he wanted to I've even appointed somebody within the opposition when he knew very well that Martin Amidu was not too well with the NDC. Kisi Agyapong, for me, right from the onset, I have been very clear about it. But I don't trust that Kisi Agyapong will do a good job for this country. I'm not saying he's not a good lawyer, but I don't believe that Kisi Agyapong would be a good job for this country. A lot of contradictions in what he says. I don't think that he means well. This Kenofurata issue, I have my belief, which I may not have material evidence to support, that he does not mean to bring Kenofurata back home. Look, when he arrested Martin Kpebu, for instance, look, I'm not a lawyer, you are a lawyer. Martin Kpebu had raised questions about his conduct in his office. We've raised questions even about presidents, let alone a special prosecutor. What he did was to arrest him and to handcuff him. What for? Just showing power. Look, his mandate is related to only fighting corruption and corruption-related issues. When somebody level against you, you have no right whatsoever to arrest that person. At best, you can go and report to the police. And I was also too enthused about some members of parliament on our side initiating a move to get that office scrapped without the approval of the executive, because it is an executive office. And so for me, Kisi Agyapong, no. The office of the special prosecutor, I don't know the recommendations of the CRC is talking about consolidating all these institutions, the EOCO, special prosecutor, all those institutions that are actually supposed to fight corruption. They say it should be consolidated. How that will be done? Look, in this country, you can go and ask the clergy to appoint an officer to fight corruption. It will still be that person would, in one way or the other, be aligned to party A or B in this country.
Kobe, so we've just got a few days to January 31. He's made his point about corruption, but let's move to the election. I'm quite curious. So winning an internal election is one thing, but winning the general election to become president of this country, of course, Ghana. What's giving Kennedy Agyapong that impression that maybe if he's able to win internally, he can still win against the NDC? What's giving him that?
All right, thank you. I think that Kennedy is a kind of leader that Ghanaians are yearning for as of now. We are in a country where our biggest problem as of now is...
What data are you using to support this?
So I'll get to it. We are in a country where our biggest problem is unemployment. Every national security report, every and almost all, even issues in relation to Galamsey, when you discuss Galamsey, the first question people ask you, there are 3 billion people in the value chain. Where do they go from here? So our biggest problem is unemployment. And Kennedy is someone who has demonstrated a lot of passion to resolve the issue of unemployment. He's someone who has, in his own small way, taken a lot of steps to resolve the issue of unemployment. And that's something that Ghanaians are really yearning for. And he is someone who, through his campaign, has shown how and what Ghana needs to do to employ a lot of people. For instance, I mean, he comes and one thing that he touts is that he, as a politician, he's created thousands of jobs. And he shows his factories and what he's done in certain value chains. And every constituency that he goes to, he shows what can be done there and what can be done to improve the lives of the people. For instance, he has promised to move the Ministry of Agriculture to the northern region. To the northern region because he looks at the kind of arable land that we have there and the fact that governments throughout the years has not been able to put in place the right policies to ensure that the northern region, looking at its potential, is used to feed the country and the whole continent. The fact that most of the things that we consume in this country are imported. But these are very, very simple, low-hanging fruits that we can take advantage of. The fact that from northern Ghana, from Tamale Airport to Europe is just about 5-6 hours. And in Europe, there's a lot of demand for things like flowers, fresh vegetables and all, and we are not taking advantage of this environment to ensure that we produce, and through cargo transportation, we send these produce there to end the foreign exchange that we want. So he's someone who has spoken about, who has shown a lot of passion for jobs, and he has shown that he has what it takes to do so. He has what it takes to do so in the sense that as NPP, we believe in private sector-led job creation. And as someone who is a titan in private sector job creation, he believes that as president, he knows how to help other individuals to be able to lead.
But why would a country want to choose somebody who is making promises and it will be based on the fact that he has created some jobs as opposed to existing government or a certain person who is in the process of creating the jobs anyway? But I'm mindful that currently 1.3 million Ghanaian young people are unemployed anyway.
Exactly.
I'm mindful of that.
And he, as an individual, he's created about 8,000 jobs. Now, his model, what is most important is the model. His model is to help others be like him. Be like him in the sense that he has demonstrated that he knows how to create jobs. His model is to support other entrepreneurs in the country to also create jobs. So through this experience, through this understanding of the industry, he can help you also create jobs for people. Now, an
individual knows how to create jobs better than a government.
What has the government demonstrated? And as I said, we've spoken about a lot about IMF. And like through all our analysis on our economy and all, realize that putting the burden of job creation, the huge burden of job creation on the government is not the way to go.
But if he becomes president, he then will be government. He won't be a private person anymore.
When he becomes president, and as the argument I'm making is that he's not going to put that job creation burden on the government. He's going to support the private sector to be able to create those jobs. And when it comes to understanding of the value chain of job creation in the private sector, he has proven himself.
If the NDC didn't have to present an entirely new candidate in 2028, would Kennedy still want to be president?
Yes. Why not? As we said, yes, we believe that, especially like in the management of the economy, some of the indicators are looking good. But what is the government's big plan to create sustainable jobs for the people? This is a question that a lot of governments, and it's not just NDC, we've not been able to answer over time. And just like was done in Asia through what they call the Asia Miracle, through the likes of Lee Kuan Yew and others, there was intentional government policy to help private individuals to create jobs. And if you look at a lot of these big, I see that you have a Samsung TV here. Samsung, Honda, Hyundai and all are products of this push to create, I nearly said big push anyway, but are products of such a push to help individuals or to help the private sector to create jobs. And now we are all using their products. So this is the kind
political
of
marketers say that it is easy to present a marketable candidate. We're here debating whether or not Dr. Bawumia had 38 or 41 per the Electoral Commission's report after the 2024 elections. Why would the party want to present somebody who would have to start from a clean slate?
Every election starts from a clean slate.
You don't think that
there's nothing like having some reserve votes anywhere. Every election starts from a clean slate.
Are we certain about this?
And especially when we are coming on the back of having what I believe is our worst.
If every election starts on a clean slate, the NDC won't present John Mahama.
Pardon?
If every election starts indeed on a clean slate, the NDC wouldn't have presented President John Mahama because they think that he was well marketed.
But if elections were not starting on a clean slate, President Mahama in 2020, President Mahama in 2012, right, performed better than in 2016. So if elections were not starting on a clean slate, then
why? Statistics also shows that the second term of every government, they don't particularly perform very well in their first term,
Exactly. That clearly shows that elections don't start on a clean slate. Because if they are starting on a clean slate, it means that you're expecting them to have the same.
Isn't all voters that just get tired of?
No, I think that there are lots of factors.
The syndrome of 8 years.
There are lots of factors. But even if you're talking about a syndrome of 8 years, looking at the NPP in our history, how have we performed? Like President Kufuor in his second term did better. Even when he was contesting in the second term, nominal vote rights, he did better. President Akufo-Addo had 5.6 million votes in 2016. In 2020, he had 6.7 million votes. That's the highest or the peak of NPP's votes. From there, we reduced to 4.6. And that's the biggest dip in the history of our politics.
In one sentence, why should they vote for Kennedy?
Kennedy is the person to solve the problems of Ghana. He's the person to create jobs. One key thing that is missing in this country, one key thing is that the youth of the country are yearning for is a leader who they believe is disciplined. Discipline has been something that has been a big issue, and Ghanaians want to see that leader who makes sure that things are supposed to be as it is. And there's a very worrying trend. In fact, if you look at Musa Dankwa's post and other things and other conversations, there's a very worrying trend that some of even our youth are yearning for military governments. Are you aware of that? And that is something very dangerous. If you remember, during President Mahama's inauguration, there were 23 heads of states there. The one who had the loudest cheer was Ahmed Traore of Burkina Faso. And why? Because people think that military governments are very disciplined. People think that they don't allow certain untoward things to happen. And in that quest, they forget the excesses that comes with military governments. However, someone like Kennedy Agyapong is someone that, whether you hate him, like him, his kind of disciplinarian nature is something that people believe in, and that gives him that extra edge over any other candidate that the NPP presents. All
right. Mohammed, this matter there is not your... Please, I want NPP do fear some. Remember, yes. So this is just home matter.
That's President Mills.
Yes, that's President Mills that said that. Yeah, do fear some. So I'm not asking you a question about this.
I wish.
It's just a wish. What's the wish?
I could go by the principle of do fear some
and not say anything.
But you see, the NPP is a public institution. They are campaigning to govern this country. To the extent that it's a public institution, we all have the right to comment on it.
No, today I insist that do fear some. But anyway, we're wrapping the news review segment.
I wish I had some time to deal with their candidates.
Which one would be better for you, Bawumia or Kennedy? If the NPP presents Bawumia or Kennedy, Brian, any of the 5 candidates, of course, Dr. Dichum, all the 5 candidates.
I think the NPP actually made a mistake in 2024. They should have looked for a more credible person to lead them. But they still went in for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. We all know that the NPP is seen largely as an account-based party. If you think that it is accounts that vote for you, why did you abandon them as your flag bearer?
See why I said
a very big difference.
But anyway.
But how I wish I had time to talk about this.
Don't worry. We have till the 30th. When the 31st will be the election. But please say you're watching the AM show. Kobe, thank you so much. Mohammed, thank you so much. Enjoy your holidays. Please